And we are live.
Look at this technology from around the
Hey,
world.
Pete.
Hey, man, how are you?
I'm great, man. I'm great. Where are you? The US.
Oh, sorry, you cut out there, mate.
You're representing up in North America, correct?
Yeah, I'm originally from the UK, but I lived here around about 9 or 10 years now. Lived down in Orlando, worked for Disney down there, and so yeah, I represent. Because the US is so big, they split it into two groups. So there's the west side and the east side. So I'm one of the 12 competitors for the East Coast.
Yeah, cool, man. And how are you finding the transition from UK bartending into North American bartending?
So I actually haven't done that much UK like bartending. I'd worked in pubs and I'd worked in hospitality from when I was about 15, 16. But in terms of bartending, the way you and I would probably talk about it, I have most of my experience is in the US. I did it when I was like 21. Over here was my first experience with like real cocktail culture and stuff like that. And then pretty much everything else has been over here. So I have a lot of friends who do it over there, and I understand it's different, but at the same time, at the end of the day, it's about making people feel like they're kind of in your house, in your living room, and make sure that they have a good time. So I think the difference between the US and the UK is probably just the same as the difference between Chicago and Miami or something like that.
Yeah, right. It's strange because the more people that I speak to, it turns out that we're quite universal, right? So I'm speaking to guys who are from Australia, who live in America, from Americans who are living in Russia, and inevitably, what I'm finding is that influence affects their legacy cocktail. Have you found that at all to be the case for Trueno?
So my cocktail, it's kind of the opposite. Because I wanted to make something that was personal to me rather than something that was indicative of like the US market. My cocktail's more inspired by like my childhood flavors and memories. So it's blackcurrant, elderflower, Bacardi lime, ginger beer, mint. So it's kind of British in terms of its flavor profile. And that was something that was intentional because I wanted something that essentially reflected me rather than something that I thought would reflect the East Coast of America, whatever that would be. Because I think the most important thing with any legacy journey is to have something that's a reflection of you, because that's essentially what the whole competition's about.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And it's, my brand ambassador told me, he goes, Andy, if you want me to take this competition seriously, you have to make a drink that's truly for you by you,
Mm-hmm.
because you're gonna have to be making this drink for the next 40 years of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes that gets lost within the creative process, right? The fact that sometimes you just kind of want to go big, you want to go for the fences, but that's not always the case. It's not always who we are as people. Sometimes we're a little bit more basic, right?
I think that's what's so cool about this competition, though, is as bartending or as craft bartending gets more and more advanced, you can do some really really rad stuff. That's it uses flavors and ingredients and techniques from the kitchen and science and beyond in really really amazing ways to create something that people have never seen before. But it's way harder to use things that we've already got in a way that people have never seen before. That's like such a bigger challenge. So the notion of creating something that everyone can make, or like you could make at home even, or that like a bar like I don't know Applebee's or Fridays could make without screwing it up. That's actually its own unique challenge, and that's what makes this competition, I think, way way more uh, challenging than something where you've got to create something that's really really abstract.
Yeah, man. And that was one of the driving forces for Cubist. I was wrestling for the longest time. I'm like, okay, well, how do you make something original, but yet unique, yet stand out, yet applicable for everyone? At Applebee's, like you said, or Lone Star in Australia. Uh, and it's tough. Like you said, like that in and of itself, it's its own challenge, and it's kind of like the unspoken fourth segment of Legacy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no question, man.
So
It's hard.
yeah, so I mean, how long was your creative process? The run up to on that admission.
So I was actually in Legacy last year. That was the first time I'd ever entered a competition. I made it to the national final last year, and they ran it a little bit differently, but obviously the concept's still the same in terms of the kind of drink they're looking for. And I was super happy with my drink, super proud of it. It had Bacardi 8, uh, yellow chartreuse, lime, honey cinnamon syrup, and then papaya juice in it. And it was something I was super proud of and thought, yeah, everyone will like this. But then when I tried to get it made, turns out papaya juice may as well be plutonium. Like no one has it. It's hard to get. It's a nightmare to juice it because it's so stringy and starchy. So you can't like getting it on menus. People would be like, yeah, I'll put it on your menu. What am I supposed to do about this papaya? Like we can't get it. We can't make it. So this year I knew that I wanted something that was going to be super easy. And also my bar, I work for Disney in Orlando, and as awesome as that company is, they're kind of not going to back me at all. So I needed something that had ingredients I already had on hand in order to make something that was going to be mega simple that I was able to make in my bar without even asking them. So that was something that informed my decision. And again, I just kept it super simple. I knew I wanted to do a highball because you don't see too many of them, so that was going to be a bit unique. And then because I work in like a British themed bar, we had things on hand that I just used to make something that was gonna be reflective of me without being too complex. And so yeah, it didn't take too long to make the drink because more than anything, I would just look at the flavors I had and went, yeah, okay, so blackcurrant, elderflower, mint, ginger. They're the flavors I want to play with. They work really well with Bacardi 4. So yeah, I don't know, maybe a week, 2 weeks of like finalizing ratios and stuff like that, and then away I went. And more important was the story and how I was putting it all together.
Man, it's so funny that you said that your company that they find it, I'm assuming for legal reasons hard to back you. And certain people are in that situation as well, where maybe they're not in a designated craft bar, maybe they're not in a market that can help them pushing a drink, but yet somehow you manage to turn that positive, right? Because you look at your restrictions and you think to yourself, all right, well then how can I make this work?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, and are you gonna literally just sit there and cry your eyes out about things you can't change? You can't do that. It's kind of pointless. So rather than just worrying about problems, you just got to find creative solutions. And I think I don't really see this competition as like people in competition, not to use the word twice, because essentially what you're competing against is yourself and your own challenges. And as long as you do the best job you can do, that's really all you can get judged on. It's not a case of I'm going to see what I can do. I'm not going to do the same as you and just see if I can do it better, because that's really kind of counterproductive anyway. You just worry about what you can do, and that's essentially what creates the best story. And that's a real big deal in terms of this competition, I think, is how you overcome the obstacles in front of you and conquer the adversity to inspire as many people as possible.
Man, I think you just hit the nail on the head. Like it's such an inclusive competition. It's one of those things that I don't ever like really comparing my drink to a drink that's come before me. But if I had to, Cubist kind of represents what an air mail is: honey water, citrus, sparkling, a gold rum, and away you go. I've modified it slightly to fit what I wanted. But what I found was, people, not just in my market, but everyone that I'm speaking to around the world, they're so encouraging of the drink. And I use pastis, and pastis are, it's kind of almost like a papaya-ish ingredient. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people are indifferent. But, people all around the world are helping me out. They're putting the drink on the menu, they're getting great, and said it doesn't feel like you're in competition. It feels almost like the competition part is secondary to what we're doing. We're building friendships, building connections, we're spreading our drinks, we're building a following.
Yeah, I think that's the big prize as well at the end of it, man. Yeah, someone's got to win, and someone goes to Amsterdam, and someone's crowned the champion, and that's great. But no one really loses. Like, that's the reason I do this, is because I don't get to hang out with like that kind of bartender an awful lot. Like, we're unionized, we're company, we're corporate, everyone's got long tenure. So if I want someone who cares about craft cocktail or technique or pushing the envelope forward, I kind of have to be involved in things like this. So I just get such a massive kick out of talking to guys like you, or talking to ex-champions of Legacy, or talking with the other competitors, or reaching out to other people in other bars. Like, that for me is the biggest prize. And Bacardi themselves, I mean, they pushed the Gran Familia an awful lot. And it's true, man. It's kind of just like a big extended family. And now it doesn't matter what city you go to, you're going to find like-minded people who just believe in hospitality as like a way of living your life, not just something you switch on and off when you punch a wall clock at the end of the day. And that for me is super, super rewarding, and why I want to be involved in this kind of thing.
Yeah, and it drives your story, and for me, I found that understanding, that family aspect, that family core unit of what Bacardi is, that kind of helped me to redefine what I wanted Cubist to stand for. I really wanted Cubist to stand for something radical. I really wanted Cubist to be something that championed not just where Bacardi came from, but where Bacardi is going. And sometimes people get a little bit hung up on, the past of what Bacardi is. And I mean, fuck, dude, like, they know the story. They know, they know where Bacardi comes from. That they want to hear something personal, but something personal in a global, in a global fashion.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think, yeah, you can link it to Bacardi, which is an inspirational story. But what am I going to do? Use the date 1862 and hope that Dickie Cullimore crowns me Bacardi Legacy champion? I don't think that's going to happen. So yeah, it's about understanding the past so that you can essentially shape the future. I mean, it's called the legacy competition, right? It's kind of in the name already. It's about what you do with it in the future. And so yeah, my story is kind of about how failure in the past essentially is fine as long as you learn from it to make the future that you want. And I think that's something that you see a lot of in this competition, is how people overcome the adversity to essentially shape what they want to shape in the future. And that really is a pretty positive story. And I think that's the thing. Well, it's not really fun to hear sob stories all day long. It's more inspiring to get people jazzed about where we're going.
Yeah, man, and be true. Like, for example, I'm sure you've seen my campaigns kind of like cocktail on acid, right? And that's what I like. I like that style. I like that form of art. I like that kind of that radicalized version of interpretation. And there's no point in me, playing on this idea of the past when that's not who I am as an individual. I'm someone who wants to be creative, but I want to be creative in a way that's accessible for everyone. Art theory is a tough thing, and art theory, it's hard for bartenders to kind of get a grasp of, right? And so that's kind of what shaped my drink. I wanted a nice little drink in there. Put it up on camera so everyone can see it.
Yeah, there it is. The ice has started to melt now, but it's still delicious.
Perfect. Cubist is served up in a flute, and I wanted to do that for the contrast. Everything about my campaign, it's kind of heroin chic. It's kind of gross, kind of weak, but the drink itself is really elegant and really classy, and that juxtaposition is something that I really wanted to put forth. I don't have bright colors like Trueno. I don't have exotic flavors. My drink's just really simple, and I wanted the story to shine through more so than the drink itself.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I mean, and I think a lot of people, because no one really knows what to do with the marketing side of things. It's all kind of up in the air, and you can do what you want. And I think that's probably intentional, because what they want is to see how you cope with that. And yeah, I think a lot of us go, okay, how are we going to sell as many drinks as possible? Kind of pointless to do that, because at the end of the day, no no one's really going to get that excited just about liquid in a cup. And that's really all it is at the end of the day. It's how you create a movement and how that movement inspires others and means something that they care about. And that's something that is harder to do because it's a lot bigger. But that's why, like you said, as long as it's your story and people can get behind you, that's how to do it, I think. I mean, I don't think there's any magic formula, but that's really how to do it. I love your art, by the way. Like, I really, really love it. It was one of the first legacy campaigns that I saw and noticed, because those I mean, I can't do that kind of thing. I literally, all I do is black and white photos with a color splash. But yeah, I love all that stuff, and I love the name of it. Big Picasso fan, so obviously the name stuck out to me as well. Yeah, I think it's a super cool campaign, and it is super original, and that's the thing. So it's going to be linked to you, not anyone else, and that's also a big part of
it. For me personally, it was tough to think of how am I going to market my drink? How am I? That's why you'll notice I'm never really present within my my profile, and my name isn't there because I want the campaign to be about Cubist. But taking it to YouTube and bringing people onto this forum and having these radical hangouts, that's something that I'm really I'm really proud of. I think that the concept of radical thinking, that's what's led me here to this point to talk to you right now. And whether I make it through to Amsterdam, whether I win the whatever, this for me is what my legacy is.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, I could head over to where you are right now, and I've got a brand new friend in the world, and that's a really cool thing, man.
Yeah, of course.
But Petey boy, tell me about your drink. Tell me about the story. Tell me about the, you clearly, so inform me on the name.
So the name means thunder. It's El Trueno, and that means thunder in Spanish. And really, it's inspired by that inside everyone you've got like this voice, and that sometimes at some point it's going to be just you. It's just going to be you and what's inside of you, and you've got to understand what it is that drives you. And if you want to be successful, whatever that looks like in your life, it's going to be about how you listen to those voices inside and how you unleash what you can do into the world. And I'm a big fan of work. I don't think there's anything particularly special or inspiring about me as a person, and that's fine. But I'm prepared to get up and go to work, and that's something I'm super happy with and super proud of. And I think that's something that I get from my father. My father's unquestionably the hardest working person that I know. And I remember growing up, I'd always think he would do an awful lot for other people. And he'd never leave me wanting, but he would make me do things if I was capable of doing them. And at the time, I'd be like, man, that kind of sucks. Why wouldn't you just do it for me? You could do it for other people. But I look back on it now, and I think that's probably the greatest gift he ever gave me, was that notion of no one's going to do it for you. Just get up and go and do it. Get up and go to work. You want something, go and earn it. And that's something that really inspires the El Trueno drink. It's that notion of going out and grafting for what it is you want, that getting up in the morning and just hustling, being good to other people and getting back in return. And that's what inspires me. That's what the story behind it. My father's work ethic that hopefully he sees in me and he's instilled in me, that allows me to get up when I get knocked down again and again and again, that allows me to push through and learn from failures. I know there's a phrase I heard, it's probably super old, but I heard it recently and it really stuck with me, and it's that you never lose, you either win or you learn. And that's really something that, it's kind of like a good mantra for how I want to live my life. So that's what really inspires the cocktail.
And, it's funny how I always lead in with the backstory behind the person, behind where they are before I get to the drink, right? Because what I end up finding, it's kind of a little personal experiment. I find that who you are as a person always shines through the story of the drink.
Yeah.
You were talking about how you just got to pull yourself up by the bootstraps. If you don't have a company that can support you, if you don't have the best booze selection around you, well, tough tits, mate. You just got to get out there and you just got to graft for it, like you said, and And I think that that's really special. I think it's a great lesson, win, lose, or draw, to have, you know, as a base for your drink.
Yeah, and I mean, who cares, man, about all the excuses? Like, what are you gonna? There's no points for sympathy. So
Yeah, there should be though.
yeah, it'd be nice if there was. Don't get me wrong. Yeah.
But Peter, you have a podcast, right? And
Sorry, go on.
you know, I've been listening to that podcast quite a bit, and it's interesting because I listened to when you were over in Puerto Rico last time, and I was trying to find little nuggets because I'm heading off to Puerto Rico in a month. Yeah. Oh, almost in Stockholm. And yeah, I just wanted to say, you know, it was a huge kind of inspirational component for me because I thought about doing podcasts before, but that's not really my drive. Hey, I'll wait for this lady to finish. She's done. Are you using your podcast online at all within your campaign?
So I've started. It's funny. So work at the cinema. In 2014, and I just interviewed him. As part of my campaign. I just and kind of talk about their start in the 80s and 90s and how they've shaped the bartender world and stuff like that. But I find that I'm kind of removed from that whole world. Like, my favorite bartender. In about a few minutes, we'll have at Stockholm Central Station. In Stockholm, track number 17, and you will find the platform at the left side in our direction. And please take a moment to look around the seat. You have all belongings with
you. Sorry, man. You kept on dropping out there for a second.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, I was just saying that the reason I do the podcast is essentially because I just like talking to other bartenders. So that was something I couldn't really find an awful lot online. So that's why I chose to just record myself speaking to them. And I was really surprised because I got people from everywhere. I did it originally as like a legacy thing, like last year. And then like a few months after, I'd get people saying, when's the next episode coming out? When's the next episode coming out? And so I was like, wow, I guess people kind of like that. And so that's why I continued doing it. And now, yeah, I get quite a decent amount of listeners, and it's just a lot of fun. Like, so as long as I just get to talk to bartenders about what it is we do, because I do that anyway on a day-to-day basis. So all it is pressing record for half an hour and speaking to some of them in different places, and yeah, finding out what their markets are doing. It's just something that I get kind of a kick out of. I'm certainly not tech savvy. I'm certainly not doing it for any kind of future aim or goal or anything like that. I just like to do it.
Man, you know, I think it's such an interesting thing to do. You know, to go online and to kind of break that third wall of marketing, especially in the bar world. You know, and to take things into podcasting, to take things into online streaming. I really think it's the next stage for these legacy style competitions. And I'm sure next year people are going to do streams. I'm sure they're going to find new and more creative ways than what I'm doing right now. But, you know, at the end of the day, don't be scared. You know, I just had to send a couple of messages to people, ask them, hey, you want to come online? You want to talk for 30 minutes? And you know, they're down for it. And whether we have 2 viewers, whether we have viewers, at the end of the day, for me, it's about connecting with people. It's about meeting new people. It's about, you know, sharing ideas and perspectives. And the more that I do these, the more that I kind of it feels like I'm removing myself, because I want to talk about so much more than what just a legacy drink is. You know, I want to know who you are as a person. I want to know what drives you. I want to know, you know, ultimately, where are you at this point in this crazy journey?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I spoke to Gary Regan's like UK native who's a big deal in bartending in the US. I did his like class in March or April this year. Super interesting. But something he would always talk about is the notion of asking for help. And when you ask for help, whether it's cutting people off or whether you need something else in your life, when you ask people for help, then like natural reaction, as long as they're not just scumbags, is going to be to accept it. And so yeah, like when you reach out to people, it's pretty amazing how many people will be like, yeah, I've got time for you. I'll live stream with you. What is it? What's in your drink? Yeah, we'll make it. You know, you'll get people who want to help you because it's kind of nice to help people.
Yeah, man. You know, one thing that I'm trying to work on at the moment, I'm trying to work on on an international party. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I want to get all the people that are doing these live streams at some point, maybe during the competition, maybe after the competition, but I want to have like a live stream party.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's just one of those things that it's almost like a thank you. It's a thank you for being part of my journey. It's a thank you for being part of, you know, this experience and sharing something really cool.
Yeah.
And like you said, you know, for anyone that's listening to this, don't be scared to ask. You know, at the end of the day, like some guy in Phoenix is going to tell you no. You're like, all right, bro. Like,
Yeah. Big deal.
here's yeah, there's 400 other people to speak to.
Yeah. Exactly, man. It's really, really not a big deal. If people say
And,
no, they say no. Yeah.
yeah, and I think I asked you, Pete. I asked if we could do like a menu swap, right? And you came out and you said, "Can't do it, man. You know,
Yeah.
restrictions, can't do it." And that's just one of those things where it could have you could have just said, "Can't do it," end of relationship. But you turned around and you said, "Can't do that," but hey, this is what I can do for you.
Yeah.
And we've never shared a beer together. We've never met, and yet on the other side of the world. Uh, it's a really cool thing, and I really encourage people to go online. I encourage people to take these bartending competitions outside of their from just doing simple guest shifts. A guest shift is great, but a stream is forever, right? Brother, have you ever been to Stockholm?
It's so I've never been to Stockholm. My wife's from Sweden. Well, her mother's from Sweden. She grew up in Stockholm, and then my wife was born over here, and her father's in Norway still in Sandefjord. But yeah, so I really should have been, but I haven't made it over yet. It's high on my list though. I've been pretty fortunate with travel, but for some reason Sweden's avoided me. But I want to go and see it. I want to go and every picture you see is super super beautiful, and the light
Man,
there's
it's good.
amazing, and all the archipelago and the islands and stuff. It looks like a pretty special place. So I would like to go, no question. So hey, maybe if I win the national final, maybe I'll do a guest shift in Stockholm. Gives me a good excuse.
Like I said, I'm not from Stockholm, but if you win and you manage to come over, I'll find you a place and we can do a joint shift together.
Sounds great, mate.
All right, brother. Well, man, I'm gonna jump off because here we are right now. We're just
Nice, mate.
so, Petey boy, let's do this again real soon, yeah.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, mate. Thank you very much.
All right, man. Hey, all good, and please let me know how you go. If I can help with anything at all, let me know. If you want me to make you drink in venue, I'm going to go out for a couple of drinks now. I've got the recipe if you're drinking here. I'll head over to a couple of bars and get a couple of happy snaps for you.
Sounds good, mate. You too.
All right, brother. Peace and love to you, man.
Bye-bye now.
Bye, bye.